Welcome back, everybody, to more CSGO news. Hope you're all doing well. My name is Jake from Esports Talk. Today we break down, yes, it is beginning. For the year of 2020, it has now begun. The controversy, the debate, and of course, what's going to become of all the leagues out there for 2020 in CSGO are slowly being announced, and Fnatic and Mouz Sports now join the first list of teams rejected by at least one of those leagues. That's going to be Blast Pro Series, Blast Pro Tour, whatever you do want to call it. They have now been rejected off that 12-team list, which, by the way, on screen for all of you, I will say, first off, the list is pretty solid. You know, we see two of our top teams in America. We see a widespread European talent out there. You get MIBR from Brazil. Of all the teams in that actual list of 12 teams, you would say it's a pretty solid founding. The one team missing, though, or I guess you could say two, you have two top three current teams missing, Mouz Sports and Fnatic. It's actually Nicholas Estrup, brought to us by HLTV. I will link that full interview down below for all of you guys. They have now come forward and actually given us a few reasons as to why those two teams were rejected for the future of this league. And as you guys can imagine, Fnatic, first of all, most vocal about this. I imagine Mouz Sports is not too happy either, especially how the way they actually ended their season. You would think you'd want a top three team in your league, but that was not everything. According to them, criteria went well beyond rankings as to why they chose these teams. Fnatic, though, their CEO taking to Twitter on screen for all of you, very upset by this. The legacy they have as well, obviously feeling very disrespected by the way they came forward in the interview and talked about why they did not actually end up being chosen, and a few other things going to be brought up at the end of this video, guys, as to why maybe Fnatic was amongst many teams out there not selected for the 12-team Blast Pro Series League, which will start off again next year with their Blast Pro Tour. And keep in mind as well, there's going to be multiple leagues next year. It's going to be a very weird point in CSGO where you see teams that you want to cheer for in one league, not in the other. You're going to see some leagues, of course, overlap others, so you participate in one and you can't make the other. And teams like Mouz Sports and Fnatic straight up being rejected, maybe for financial reasons. Maybe they didn't have the money. I imagine they probably maybe did. That's a safe assumption right now. Some teams out there will pay to actually, or choose to pay to be in one league and maybe not the other. It's going to be a hectic year, going to be a very weird year for CSGO to see what leagues we actually end up watching and what leagues actually end up being put on the best and have also the best teams and the best viewership. Now, alongside that, Nicholas Estrup, though the director of Blast Pro Series, did take to that interview and actually made several notes as to how they actually went about choosing these teams, as he did go on to state. As one important thing is we couldn't solely be relying around what the lineup of the team is right now at this moment. Our dream, and I'm sure every TO's dream, is that the setup they build is also going to last a long time. To ensure that the org behind teams and all these extra parameters weigh in just as much as maybe, or even in some cases more, because it's a long-term play. He goes on also to mention that we cannot rely solely on rankings to determine who participates when we're thinking long-term. We have seen how that can actually change dramatically and what impact that has on TOs like ourselves. So there you have it, guys. The director and the runner of all these things Blast Pro going forward for 2020 has straight up said when it comes time for the long-term play, they had to pick and choose their organizations and teams selectively, not based off ranking, not based off their current roster. They had to think long-term, which immediately makes you think, okay, what are the actual reasons as to why they picked these teams? I would assume financial backing and financial security of the organizations themselves. If ranking does not matter, if lineup does not matter, then solely you would think money and longevity of the organization, that has to matter, right? So then why not choose Fnatic or Mouz Sports? Mouz Sports, a different story, way less known across multiple other esports when it comes time to being compared to a group like Fnatic. Fnatic also currently a top 3 roster, a storied, a legacied roster in CSGO. I would say a team in CSGO most notorious as a part to maybe that of NIP. They are one of the most well-known historical organizations ever in CSGO, and just so happen currently in the end of 2019 are a top 3 roster, and they're not in this league. And so it does beg the question, why not? And so immediately you point your head towards maybe financial feasibility. Obviously, Fnatic would want to put towards that amount of money if the buy-in is $1-2 million, as other leagues supposedly speculatively are going to be around that $2 million range, as we have seen so far, brought to us by Decay and others. You would think certainly Fnatic, if they can afford an entire CSGO lineup, if they can afford an entire League of Legends team, other lineups as well, and other esports out there, certainly they could afford to pay the fee of $1 or $2 million. So what did Blast see as to why not to choose Fnatic? We look towards Thorin, by the way, who has been tweeting about this for several years. Ever since 2016, Thorn has been on the train of Fnatic potentially having some sort of financial or debt issues. Has that continued? Because clearly now over 3 years later, they are still around. So you have to wonder, what does Thorn know? What do people know that we do not know at the forefront of gaming communities out there? What is not being told to us? What is not being talked about? As Thorn rehashed that same debate this morning, talking about the same thing. Apparently something going on behind closed doors about financial issues possibly within Fnatic as to why maybe Blast and their director and Blast in general would not want to choose them, because in terms of long-term play, they do not trust Fnatic in some sense of another. Maybe it comes down to financials. Maybe it comes down to other friendships out there not hooking up. It seems very, very weird, and I would love clarification from either side here on exact specifics, because you have a top 3 CSGO lineup currently and a storied CSGO lineup in general, an organization in general not being chosen for the league. Maybe it's not that big of an issue, okay? When you come down to 12 teams, there is no way to perfect and only get the 12 best teams that everyone wants. There was always going to be anger out there. Someone will always be left out, but why Fnatic is certainly a giant question going forward. Until next time, I hope you guys all enjoy breaking down CSGO, esports, gaming, whatever words. Breaking down all the news I possibly can, and especially going into next week, guys, definitely back on CSGO news as well for all of you. Until then, I hope you guys all enjoy your holiday breaks. Drink your coffee, drink your water. I'll be back here sometime soon.